Welcome everyone for yet another interesting session today. So within the Power Automate team, Principal Program Manager Gautier and Quentin has a focus on UI automation. They will show us the latest updates on robotic process automation, AI, and digital process automation.
Hello, everyone. My name is Gautier Chaston. So I'll introduce you a little bit about the platform and why we're developing those tools. So first of all, I just want to zoom out around the reason why we're working on Power Automate, which is to empower your people, and we insist on that, on the people, around delivering more business value. The reason why we're focusing on the people is that with everyone being familiar about the digital transformation, it's usually translates into buying digital tools. And I think the Power Platform and Power Automate, the focus for those is to allow everyone within the organization so that you achieve more results through that digital transformation with a democratization that we'll talk about. So let's zoom out a little bit because I would like to introduce you, for those who don't know it already, the Power Platform. It's a combination of capabilities of 4 services into a unique and powerful low-code development platform. So it is designed to be approachable and accessible for those who are in the best position to identify transformative applications, be it with analytics, application development, process automation, and virtual agents. And so all those tools are built on the same foundations, so that whenever you're using one of those tools, it creates, edits, and extracts and shows data that is shared across all the apps in a secure fashion. So one of the foundational goals is to empower the limitless potential of the citizen developers. So it's a single local platform that spans across Office 365, Dynamics 365, Azure, and standalone applications. So now I'm going to go and deep dive into Power Automate, which is Microsoft service that enables automation for all and serves as a crucial component of the Power Platform. So first of all, as we said, it's designed for everyone, not just the citizen developers like the frontline users, but also for experienced developers and IT admins. So if you're the end user, you have that low-code development environment. If you're an experienced developer, you can go beyond that and connect with the pieces that you code on the side, same as for IT admins. So going through low code, the way we see low code is that, first of all, it enables anyone to use an approachable user interface that guides you through building your application, or in the case of Power Automate, your automation. It's also faster because you can reuse components and use drag and drop and such as like those WYSIWYG types of concepts that allow you to build your goals faster. It also enables debuggability, where you can see the full execution history, not just for what you're running right now, but what you've run in the past as well, and go through each individual step to understand what went right and what went wrong so that you can improve. And it's also built on documentation so that anyone can pick it up. But also, as part of that, I would like to mention the community. There's a vibrant community around the Power Platform that allows anyone to ask questions and get answers from a very vibrant community. So with that said, I would like to introduce the core concept. And so the way this presentation is articulated is I'm doing sort of a quick reminder of the core concept for those who discover Power Automate for the first time. And for those of you who've watched Kent's presentation last year, I will then focus on the new stuff that we've released since last year so that you can catch up and understand where we're at with regards to Power Automate. I would also like to call out that after this session, Kent Ware is also running a session around how to integrate as an ISV and a consultant to Power Automate, and how to use this in deeper details. And so I would highly recommend you to tune in to the next session, which is basically an extension of the one that is happening right now. So in terms of core concept, Power Automate starts with a breadth of what we call connectors, which are out of the box tools that allow you to get data from, or basically connect your automation to external sources. Those could be Microsoft products such as Outlook, OneDrive, or SharePoint, but can also be third-party services like Google Mail or AWS. So it's really something that is very broad in terms of what you can do, and allows you to just build like Lego bricks automations by dragging and dropping those and quickly configuring them. So that's very helpful. But as I discussed before, there's also the capability for you to build your custom connectors so that you can connect to the APIs that you have on-prem in your organization, and share that connector with the rest of the citizen developers so that they can reuse it as well, as easy as it would be for them to use, for instance, the Outlook connector that is on the top left. And so the core concept about how you build that automation. So you start with a trigger using one of those connectors, but it can also be, so it could be because you have that mail that arrives, or you have a change in a SQL database that is happening, that all that can trigger your automation. You can also configure your automation to run on a schedule based every day, every minute, at a certain time or a certain date. But you can also configure that to be triggered by REST API answer. It can be triggered, for instance, by an external service, or manually if you want to. So once you have your trigger in place, you would add a set of actions that will perform all the automation steps that you want to do, be it creating files like in this example on OneDrive, or getting or sharing or transforming data basically across along the road. You can also add conditional logic so that you start to add decisions within your automation based on a set of conditions that you can choose. And with that, you can also use expressions if you want to go with a more advanced route, where if you're if you can manipulate Excel-like formulas, this is something similar. This is not the same. It's not the same language, but it is similar in terms of how you build those formulas, so that you can make additional transformation over the different parameters and data that is manipulated within the automation. And the last concept is dynamic content. For those who have a dev background, this is a simplified way to use variables, basically, where it automatically reuses the values that are available from the outside of each action. Each action would expose a set of data. In that example, there is an email action or trigger above, that can expose the body of the email to the subsequent actions, so that you can extract information from that and manipulate it. So this is for, I would say, the core concept about how you build an automation within Power Automate. And there is then all those capabilities are available either through the Power Automate portal directly, but also within SharePoint, within Office, within Teams, so that it's where you work basically. So you can use and create those automations from where you and your citizen developers would work and would achieve their results. So now I would like to have a focus around I would say, the breadth of types of automations that Power Automate can achieve. Compared to last year, there has been a major announcement that we did, I would say it was last November, which is that we now support a robotic process automation as part of Power Automate, meaning that you can automate UI elements as well as digital process such as API automation. And so Power Automate, thanks to those unique capabilities, allow you to bridge the old with the new, meaning if you have modern services that expose APIs, you can use them and have those neat connectors that allow citizen developers to benefit from them without writing a single line of code. But if you're using legacy software such as an old accounting or software or ERPs, then you can use the UI layer to automate them, just like existing tools such as UiPath and others, for you to automate that. But I would say the main difference is that at the core, Power Automate is bringing the hyper automation promise, which is a concept defined by Gartner around the ability to move away RPA from the traditional UI automation layer to a complete set of advanced technologies that enable to automate the full spectrum of digital processes. And by that, I mean not just the legacy and API layers, but also human processes when you need to have an approval if there's a something that goes on and you need to have a given part of your business that follows a specific process such as HR onboarding or finance approvals, then you can have that through the human process piece of Power Automate. And we also introduced a feature which is named AI Builder, which allows you to automate cognitive processes. And the marquee example for that is the forms processing that Quentin will demo later on. And I'll show you right now what it is. So AI Builder is basically a way to have a low-code AI development environment. And so in that case, you can choose between one of the models that are available here. And once you click, let's say we click forms processing over here, then you get into, you upload a few images that would be the templates, and AI Builder will automatically detect the different elements so that you can extract structured data out of those templates to build your AI model. And in that example, you can see that the balance due date, the date of the invoice, everything is automatically detected, and you can choose that to make it part of your model so that whenever you're providing future invoices to the model, it will extract automatically all that information, the balance due, the date, and all that, so that you can reuse it as part of your automation. And so once you have your model developed, then you add the AI model as part of your automation, and you choose your model, and boom, this is all you need to do. So that's for AI Builder. And now I would like to jump into the RPA piece, the UI automation piece, where basically the concept here is that you would record a task on the screen. So there would be a recorder that is running on your local device connected with the Power Automate service. And you would record the task on your machine. You would test that the recording can play back properly. And once you're done, you can monitor the execution afterwards. So this is the core concept about how RPA works within Power Automate. And that RPA can run either attended or unattended. So attended is when you have something that is helping you with a manual task that is usually running on demand. So an example for that is when you have a customer service center and you want to aggregate multiple information about a given customer, you may have the agent that triggers long-running tasks that take more time. And as the customer agent is introducing himself or herself to the customer, launch the attended automation to grab all the data and have it exposed to be able to treat the customer case. On the other hand, unattended is more for background automation. Those are for the processes such as finance reconciliation, for instance, that run on a regular basis, or very often. Sometimes we have like high bandwidth types of automations where you would want to enter a lot of information to your legacy ERP. And for that, you would have unattended processes and unattended bots that would run whenever there's a need for it, where nobody actually needs to monitor them on, when it's actually running. You would more be warned about when something goes wrong, or if you want to check out I would say, monthly execution state, or when you want to monitor after the fact, for instance. So those usually run on dedicated machines that would perform the RPA script. So next question is, now you know what you can do with regards to attended and unattended, but like, what type of applications can you automate? And I would say there are multiple types of apps. The first set is Windows 10 applications, and those you can run either running locally in your machine. And we've just released, I think it was on Monday, this Monday, like 2 days ago, the capability to also execute on distant machines via remote desktop. So those Windows apps can be either running locally in the machine that executes the UI automation, or running through remote desktop. You can also automate web applications using Selenium IDE, which is an open source tool that allows you to record and playback web automations. And we also have announced the acquisition of WinAutomation, which is historically an on-prem desktop automation tool. It's a low-code environment that is extremely complete and competitive, and that we're bringing to the Park platform as well. So this is a very exciting news that we've shared, because it gives a very diverse tool set to build your automations against, and that will converge over time. So WinAutomation, just to double click on that, is a leading low-code RPA offering. It's already in market since 15 years, and it has a huge breadth of features, including Java apps and Citrix that we don't support right now within, I would say, the Power Automate tools, and it's available for anyone. If you're buying Power Automate, you now can use WinAutomation as part of your license. So this is a very good news for you, because it allows you to choose the tool that works best for your case with no added cost. In terms of development environment, WinAutomation is a low-code, no-code canvas where you can build your automation and use libraries and functions to create your automation. So with that, I would like to pass it to Quentin, who's going to make a demo of the recording and playback of an automation via the recently released remote desktop support that we've announced. Quentin, I'll stop sharing so that you can take it over.
Yeah, thank you, Gautier. I will share my screen and tell me if you can see it.
You're up.
Great. So I will now show you how to automate an invoice processing entry into a legacy system that is only available on a remote desktop session. So in my example, we are a company that receive every day some invoices by email, for example. And what we want to do is to extract the information of this invoice, for example, the contact, the bill, the balance due, and so on. And we want to extract this data and put this information into a legacy application that is only available on a remote desktop session. So how we can do that? The first step is to create a flow. So let me, so here we are in the Power Automate website. So as you can see, I've created a flow that contains 5 steps. The first one is the trigger one. As Gautier explained, you have different types of triggers that you can use. Here, for this example, I choose to use a manual trigger, but you can also choose to add some triggers. For example, when you receive an email or every Tuesday, and so on. So in this example, in my manual trigger, the Power Automate flow is launched when I receive a file as an input. The 4 next steps are predict, get secrets, and UI flow. In the details, the predict is the actions that contains the AI builder model. These actions will allow you to extract the data from the invoicing file. In the 2 next steps, we want to secure the data. So to connect to the remote desktop, we will use some username and password. And thanks to Azure Key Vault, you can use here the secrets from your Azure Key Vault and make sure that this data won't be shared in the script. And the last action is the UI flow. So the UI flow is the RPA component of your flow. So in this UI flow, what you can see is that there is 2 different modes, as Gautier described, attended and unattended mode. And you can also see all the inputs that I got. There are 3 inputs that are used for the connection of the remote desktop. So host name, username, and password. And I will also use the account name, contact name, and amount from the invoice. So here in this example, you would use Tailspin Toys, P dot, and so on, and the balance due. So this is what we want to retrieve in the UI flow. So now I will explain you how to create a UI flow. So here we are in the UI flow wizard. There are 4 steps to create the UI flow. The main one is the record and edit steps. When you want to start a UI flow, you will launch the recorder to record all the actions that you want to automate. So by clicking on launch the recorder, there will be a recorder that will appear on top of my screen here. And so in this example, I want to record my remote desktop. So now I switch to my remote desktop, and you can see that there is the legacy app that I want to automate. So when I click on record, I will now be able to record all the steps. So in this process, I want to add a new entry. So I click on new. And as you can see, there is a small pop-up on top of my screen that shows me that I'm now recording with image recognition, because you are not using the same technology if you are recording on remote desktops, because the accessibility APIs are not available. So I want to enter the account name, the contact name, and the amount. So to do that, I have two choices. The first one is just to use sample data, and the other one is to use the input that I've created before. So I will do a small example. So I will start with the account name. Then I will use the contact name that I've created earlier. And then the amount. And once it's done, my line has been created, and now I just want to extract the ID of this line to send me an email to say, yes, your line has been created and the new reference, sorry, is this ID. So to do that, I can extract text from image by using OCR. This is really simple. There is two main steps to do. The first one is to define the invariant area around the value. So for example, I can select this area that will not change each time I will do the playback. And now I will capture the exact area where the value will be contained. And as you can see in the sample value area, I can see the value that has been extracted, and I just need to define my output. And there we go. The UI flow is done. I can click on done. I can close my remote desktop session. And if I go back on the designer, I can see all the actions that have been recorded. There is only one remaining thing to do to finish this automation. I just need to bind the input that I created for the remote desktop connections with this first action. So here there is the username, the password, and the host name. Once it's done, I can also check all the actions that have been recorded. So here, for example, I start with the left click. So if I click on the details, I will be able to see the screenshots of the actions that appear here. And I can also see all the inputs that I've used. So once it's done, I can now launch my test. And Gautier, because it will take a little bit of time, maybe you can go on the next step.
Yes. So I think it's a good time for Q&A, right, Quentin? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. The reason is it will take a little bit of time because I'm sharing my screen. So yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Okay, so there has been already a few good questions that I will try to answer. The first one is, how would Softomotive merge into the existing Power Platform? Is it an additional service compared to alongside Power Automate and Power Apps and all that, or is it part of the Power Automate service? And the answer is definitely part of the Power Automate service. This is why the first step was to, as part of the Power Automate license, give you the ability to use the Softomotive Win Automation product. Another question is around Power Automate and Logic Apps boundaries that are diminishing, and where does both fit in? So that's a great question. Thank you very much for asking that. So Logic Apps' purpose is to automate data across services for IT. So the persona is totally different, meaning that the goal is not to perform automation for yourself or for a company with regards to a specific business process, but more for data manipulation. Like, think of it as automation for pro developers and IT admins, whereas Power Automate has unique features aimed at solving the continuum of user automations and processes automation. And this is why AI Builder is only available in Power Automate. And this is why RPA is only available within Power Automate. So I hope it answers your question. Another one is, any chance to have Power Automate on premises? So Power Automate is a cloud-first service. And as I'm speaking, you can see that the automation is running. And you can see that the mouse is not present. So it's the robot that is performing the automation. So the answer is clearly no. Reason is that Power Automate is designed to be a cloud-first tool, so that the benefits of cloud-first, such as very easy onboarding, deployment, centralized administration, visibility over your whole organization, and so on, are tangible. So this is not a direction that we're going after. Any additional questions? Please you can go into the chat in the Q&A section and add your questions there if you want to.
And Gautier, there are already few in the pending tab.
So let me refresh. Yes, as a continuation, what data is on-prem and what is in the cloud? So basically, all the data is in the cloud because and it can use the data that is on-prem with the gateway, the on-prem data gateway, which allows you to connect the cloud service with what's available on-prem. So sorry, let me double click on that. Basically, all your automation scripts are in the cloud, but if you have, for instance, a database like a SQL database that is available on-prem, that data remains on-prem, and it's only at execution time that the data will be read, processed, and manipulated. Meaning that there's no need to move all your on-prem services in the cloud in order to benefit from Power Automate. It's because Power Automate will go and grab the data wherever it is via the connectors or via UI flows if it's only available via a UI surface, and process it and perform your automation. Another question, is Power Automate Selenium based? So this Power Automate for the web part is using Selenium. Basically, it's orchestrating Selenium and still storing the Selenium script within the Power Automate service. It's orchestrating a Selenium tool only for web applications that are running on the target device. There is a question around the limitations of RPA in Power Automate. I would say current limitations, notable limitations are the fact that it doesn't work on Java applications, but this is only for the desktop tool. If you're using Win Automation, it supports Java, for instance. So I would say with the acquisition of Win Automation, we've lifted basically most of the limitations that we had in the past, and so yeah, it's I think we have a fairly competitive RPA service now. What about offline developer tool support and CI/CD support for Power Automate? So you can use CI/CD because you can have your automation script working with CI/CD tools and connect that with the portal. So it's definitely possible. But the development itself relies on the portal, so you need to be usually connected in order to perform the development. How does it handle dynamic content? For instance, if there are multiple order rows and stuff like that. So there are loops. You can use loops within Power Automate so that you can process multiple lines. And it's also something available within Win Automation, where if you're trying to grab content from a web page, you can click on all the pages, and we'll grab the data across all the rows in the table and across all the pages. I think we're at time, so I'll try to get the last question. All our legacy applications is on-premise. How to enable RPA for them? So this is the default case. This is not an exception. This is mostly for our customers. This is the default case. And so the way you do that is that you will have a machine that is on-prem, running on-prem, and has access to all those legacy applications. And that machine will have the on-premise data connector, data gateway that is installed. And the gateway will create a secure link between that machine running on-prem and that has access to all those legacy tools and the cloud and Power Automate. And whenever there's an automation that is triggered and that targets that machine from the Power Automate service, it will at runtime connect to the machine, send it the latest version of the automation script. The machine will and the data input parameters. The machine will execute the script and send back the output parameters of the automation so that the cloud can get it. I think that we're over time. So I think I'll stop here. I'll try to insert you a few questions offline in the chat. Thank you very much for your participation, and I hope this was useful for everyone.
Cove.co